Hello everyone, my name is Katie and my channel here called Planning My Energy talks a lot about living with chronic illness and being neurodivergent, and especially my ADHD side can feel a lack of motivation, and I do hear that plenty from my teen son about not feeling motivated. And it's honest, right? There's so many times where we don't see the point of things, we don't understand, or we just are like, why am I doing this? Or you need to do something, but you're just like, I'm not finding that initiation to get it done. I'm not finding that like initial step. I'm just keep pushing it off. I keep like, I don't want to do this. So is it motivation that you're looking for? And I just grabbed my closest prop here to cover up the other side here because I want to go through what I feel are the ingredients for motivation. This can apply to like any kind of thing that you want to step into and accomplish. Will it be like the exact same way every time for you? I don't know. Maybe you find a really great method inspired by some of the words that I'm sharing here or some of the concepts. So please make it your own. But I think what we all are like focused on is like, when are we going to wake up and have that perfect day and feel like this is the day that it's going to happen? Well, a lot of our goals are spanned over multiple days. So especially with chronic illness and being neurodivergent, many of those times you have less energy, stuff is going on in the world, stuff is going on in your family or your friends, roommates, whatever situation that you were in, pets, whatever. Every day varies, right? Every day has like waking up, what is happening. I think what's the word? We're thinking that motivation equals inspiration. And what's over here on this side is not inspiration. I really do think we look at motivation like, I'm going to wake up inspired to be this brand new person that I've never been before. And I'm coming from it because I struggle with this. There can be a lot of demand avoidance, and that's like when I feel like there's too many demands being made upon myself, or someone is, a client is like, I expect this from you, and then I start to shut down, right? Not everybody has that, but I do think when we're looking at motivation, we're like, oh, we're going to, again, wake up inspired. The flowers are going to be blooming. The birds will sing. Everything will be in alignment, and it will happen. Because we're kind of waiting for that perfect moment. So here's what I think really helps me on the other side to stepping into trying to achieve something. Cooking dinner, going for a walk, helping my son with homework, or like, those are like the regular things. But then there's also like, getting bigger work projects done or working with a client. I do a lot of web projects. I still do at times, but I've been a web designer for a very long time, over 20 years. And there were points in the project where things were flowing, and then other times when it just fell flat and I felt really constricted by things. I think that's kind of natural. When you're in a creative field, the creative side kind of ebbs and flows. And you can get into a flow state and it feels very like there's not many friction points. This is when you have a lot of friction points. So you're going from, I don't know how this is going to be done, to getting into the middle, the beginning to the middle of it. Because I think that's like the hardest part. That's like that hill that we're trying to like climb up for motivation to at least get started and get traction. So I'll be using a lot of words to describe this, but these were like the main words that came to me, and I'll probably think of more as I'm going through this because I'm just this is just top of mind. But this is kind of how I am feeling about this. So the first thing I feel like when I am trying to tackle something is I need to observe it and I need to understand it and really start to picture it, but also get the right information of what it looks like done. If I need to clean the kitchen, then I need to survey like what is going on there. Like, are there multiple meals that I just haven't cleaned up? Is it just one meal? Is it that I've been baking all day and all of this needs to go in the dishwasher? Do I need to empty the dishwasher before I do any of this? Are there any things that I need to soak and then come back to later? I'm using that as an example because there's many variables. So when I observe things, then I can make like a task list. I can understand the problem better. I have a chance to ask questions inside my head or of others, but I'm really like looking at everything neutrally and trying to remove judgment and feelings from it and just going, okay, do I need to ask for help? Do I need to think about a different process of, as I said, like doing things in a different order? Do I need to prep something before I even start this? Do I need to run a little laundry before I start this? Like, what are some things that I can observe? This is what I need to do, but maybe I'm making assumptions about. Maybe two of us can get this done quicker. You can do the same with a project. You can ask the client, a bunch of questions. You can ask the team a bunch of questions. You can just really get a really good sense of what this actually is, because I don't think motivation is going to override a bunch of misinformation, right? Like if you're perceiving it as, way bigger than what other people are perceiving it as, your motivation is going to waver. It's going to be like, wait, I thought it was this and it's this. And where's that motivation and inspiration going to come from? Or where's it going to go? Where's it going to run off to when you have a different set of information? What did I write next? Oh, I don't even remember what's on the other side of this. My ADHD is showing. So the other thing in tandem with that is the curiosity of it. And this is where I feel, so if observation is neutral, curiosity is, it's a couple different things, right? It's like looking at things positively. So this is neutral, but then here you're asking questions, you're, maybe I kind of combined both of these when I was talking, but yes, you are getting curious about like, well, what are the possibilities? I think there's a difference between getting the lay of the land, getting details, asking the questions. What could this actually be? So this is a little bit more leaning into what is the final result going to be? Are there efficiencies here? Are there tasks that I'm duplicating that I could streamline? And to me, that builds motivation to go, wait, say it's a programming thing. If I program this one thing once, I could do that then 10 times. Or if I streamline a process once, then the next 10 times I do it, it's going to get even easier. And I'm really curious and motivated to make a system that really like improves what I'm doing, right? Like to me, that's where the inspiration and motivation comes from. So yeah, neutral into possibilities and being like curious. Now, curious can be like you are really into something. But I think you can use it's just like a sprinkle of salt. You can have a sprinkle of curiosity to feel like things are starting to move forward. You can just add a little bit of curiosity. And that can be like, I hate this whole process, but what if I turn the logo blue? What if I was able to tweak one part of something and it improved? What if I added one thing to my schedule, one tiny little 5-minute thing, and it helps my whole day? What are the possibilities? And to me, that's pretty exciting, because that's when it turns into from like, oh my gosh, I'm avoiding this, into, oh my goodness, I'm greeting this. I'm facing it. I'm looking at it. I'm open to the possibility of this becoming a really positive thing. What did I write next? Momentum. So when I personally take that first little step, that first little thing of like, okay, I'm curious, but let me try that tiny little bit. So my curiosity has now tipped into something tangible where I'm typing, where maybe I'm walking forward into the kitchen. I'm walking forward on a walk. I'm walking into the store. I am writing the start of an email. Like, we aren't finishing anything yet, but we observed, we got curious about it. And then some would say like try in here, or just begin. I don't like the word just. I just like, I use the word just all the time, but to me, it kind of minimizes this whole demand avoidance part. But that's why I didn't really write it in here, because that, to me, the curiosity tips into the first little action. So I guess, let me modify this a little bit. One little action. And I'm not going to like write the best here. If I wanted to have this all scripted, like in fancy script writing, I would. I want to get these concepts to you. So this is going to be messy, and it's going to be what it is. So the curiosity with one little action tips into momentum. Getting curious enough to try. I'm trying to think of another word for that. It's this little tipping point here that a little action doesn't seem like something to avoid anymore. That there's positivity here. And once you spring into, or like turn into the first little bit getting done. So it's that one first little step, which is like the hardest part. Everyone talks about that first step being the hardest part, but I feel like these kind of tip into one another. So this is an ampersand. It wasn't really an arrow going down, but I guess these could be arrows. Observation, curiosity, you're asking questions, you try one little thing. I'll put the word try here. And that first little step. I find that even writing dear so-and-so and then saving that email makes me feel like at least I got it started. And I work with my son on this all the time. I'm like, oh, so you have a presentation that you're using slides for. Can we do the intro slide? Can you just pick out a template and we're not going to write anything down on that? And he loves to pick out templates because he kind of knows the theme and everything. So like one recently, he's like, this has kind of a newspaper theme. It's going to fit my history project really well. I'm like, great. That's all we're doing today because it's not due for a couple weeks, right? So what we're doing is connecting with it often so it doesn't feel like a big looming thing that we're pushing, that we're kicking the can down the road. We're actually touching, making little tiny contacts. Okay, we got the theme in. And then the next thing was like, okay, can you just put the title page together with your name on it? That's it. That's it. Like, he can change it later. He's like, oh yeah, I can do that in a minute, right? Great. And then the next time I'm like, hey, can you spend 5 minutes with putting some information in? Not half an hour, not 20 minutes, not 15 minutes, 5 minutes. Because he has a bunch of other projects he's working on. Because we're taking these little tiny actions, the accumulation of these little tiny actions, of breaking this down into the smallest little bits, it makes us less afraid of the big thing. The big thing. How can we put an application together? How can we research? How can we just start writing that email and just make sure that the person you're sending to is not, their email address is not in the send line yet, because that can be a little scary. I know I do that. It's like, I don't put the sender name in yet. I can put, what's the title of it? And, well, not the subject line. I may craft a subject line and then come back to it later and change it, right? You can change things. But if I just have that container of an email, if I have that container of a slideshow, if I have that container of, maybe I'm planting seeds and it's a literal container. Maybe it's a bowl that I'm going to, bake a cake at the end of the whole thing, but I got to get the ingredients and I got to get the bowls out and I got to get the mixer out. Excuse me. So once we get momentum, once we get all of these things, I'm also going to put inspiration over here. I've been wanting to do that since I started talking, because this is what we are searching for. The inspiration for motivation, right? Once we start feeling that these little steps are getting momentum, 1 little step, 2 little steps, I am 5% into this thing now. I am gaining traction in this. This is what happens. Trust. We trust ourselves. What is happening over here is some fear, and we don't trust that we can get through all the hard parts. At least it is for me. I would love to hear from you. Like, what other emotions are coming up that is keeping you from making that tiny little start? And again, if you are very demand avoidant, this is not easy. And this may feel very impossible as well. So I'm not saying any of this is easy. And I'm not saying you don't trust yourself, because there's a lot of other things that come into play here. So this is not the exact blueprint of this at all. Because I've felt varying degrees of demand avoidance. And maybe that's my autistic side. But there have been certain things in my life, especially a certain client project, where I just could not face it for days upon days upon days. It was so hard, and it did help to have some outside encouragement. So I'm going to list that here as well. Outside encouragement. Is there an E in there? I think I'm going to say yes. I'm dyslexic, so my spelling is not great. Outside encouragement, curiosity, trying, breaking things down. So small steps. All these little ingredients. Like, these are all little, here's the cinnamon, here's the nutmeg, here's the cloves, they all kind of sing together, right? And it's going to take what your preference is of all these things. And to me, when I got halfway through that project that I was talking about with that client, I realized I didn't trust that I could come across these really hard problems that I was trying to solve. I was trying to code something pretty complicated. And I was just like, I don't know if this can be done. But it got done. Whether you're asking somebody for help, whether you're researching, whether you use different tools, whether you abandon your original plan. That's what leads to the accomplishment. So these are ampersands, but I'm going to put an arrow. You can look at all of these things as something that they may not come in this order. They may not come in these amounts. Again, it's something that may be different for every accomplishment that you want to achieve. There could be 2 C's at the beginning of this. I don't know. You feel free to correct me down below. It's fine. I don't mind. If you comment on my spelling, I'll just be like, oh, thank you. So really, it's fine. What am I missing out of this? Because I'm always missing a little idea. I'll probably go about my day and I'll be like, oh, I wish I could have talked about that too. What parts of this could I add to? Because I'll probably just keep this like this is, and I might come back and add some things to it and do a part 2 of this. But I do know in my mid-40s that if I wait for this, it's not going to happen. And this is what I'm trying to teach my child to pass on, down the road. If we just wait for this, it's not going to happen. Inspiration, sometimes ideas come to mind. We can have a ton of ideas, especially those whose minds are just spinning. Oh yeah, what if I made something like this? What if I do this? Sometimes that really still doesn't get to the accomplishment though. We can write down all of these ideas. See if I can talk. That's part of the observation, right? You get these like lightning quick ideas, write them all down best you can, because they're always worth it, because sometimes you can kind of compost on them, just kind of think about them, mull them over, and the compost of them turns into something even better. But it takes curiosity and tiny little steps for traction. I'm going to also put in traction here. To then gain momentum. And it's the momentum of that weight. This whole wheel is starting to turn now. Like this whole wheel, whether it's like you're turning a wheel with your hands or the wheel is starting to move like a car down the road. That momentum, just the nature of that energy just starting to turn, makes it feel more real, makes it feel like we can do this and that we can trust ourselves and the resources we have around us into making this an accomplishment. Okay, I just looked up accomplishment, so I corrected it here just so that I have it correct on here. I might have some other misspellings. That's okay. So let me know how you feel about this. What comes to mind? Where are you still getting stuck? Because I'd love to chat in the comments about this. Do you find that you do get motivated sometimes? Do you find that when inspiration hits you, that you can dive into something? Because there is some of that too. Sometimes we can get inspired enough that we just want to tactilely feel the tactileness of what is it like to just start making that cake. I want to get my hands in there and doing that, because that is real too. And I think to me, that's the curiosity part. That's I'm inspired by these thoughts. The curiosity is my hands are kind of itching to get this started. I'm going to try. So it's just easier to do those first few steps. And then the momentum comes, and then the trust. But is the inspiration, if it does hit you, are you jumping right into it because you trust? Because you've done it a bunch of times before? Like if you bake a lot, if you cook a lot, you can feel very trustworthy of yourself, of jumping in and winging it a little bit, especially with cooking. Cooking, you can wing it. Baking, there's science to it. But if you've done both a lot, there's a lot of trust ingrained in yourself to do that. If you fixed a bike a lot, you can come across a bike that has some problems with it and fix it up. Maybe there's a whole lot less friction in there because you've gotten to trust. So what other things up over here, what points are you getting stuck at? Because it would be really interesting. Do you hear a voice in your head saying, no, you don't know how to do that, or you're not good enough, or you're not qualified enough, or any of those things? That's when leading into curiosity and kind of blocking out those voices, where's that voice coming from? Whose voice is it? That is some stuff too. What's a small step? How can we break this into the smallest steps? Even if you think, I can make this, okay, I can go out and buy the ingredients. Maybe you just buy one ingredient. Maybe there's just the tiniest little thing. Maybe, you want to take a mile walk, but you just go up the block and back. What is the smallest thing? Because if you're dealing with physical ailments, mental ailments, conditions, anything that could hinder your mental and physical energy, is going to be harder. And that's a whole other thing. I'm not even sure where to put that. So I'm not really addressing those. But sometimes even when you have mental and physical ailments, you have to do things anyway. And that's super hard. Sometimes as a grown-up, we accept that we have to do things anyway. And so we're pushing ourselves through this because we know and trust that we have to get these done. And they are going to get done and behind us. Like taxes, that kind of stuff, So let me know if there's more up here, if I need to kind of clarify. Again, mental and physical energy levels can throw all of this off, but let me know if there's other factors that are coming to mind for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you like talks like this, I've been very busy with my life, moving and everything. So I haven't been able to do as many of these, but I love doing these. If you enjoy it, consider liking it on the way out and subscribing to see more of these. Subscribe to see how this develops as well. I would love to hear from you, so this can maybe form into a bigger system. So let me know what you think, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.